Greetings, I'm Mary. If you read the international news, you might think that Israel's fate is being decided in the tunnels of Gaza or in the offices of Washington. Well, you're mistaken. The future of this country is being decided right now as I record this video on a hill with a strong wind, cold and rainy. In remote places in Judea and Samaria, where young people aged 18, 19, 20 with broken sandals and M16 rifles slung over their shoulders are herding their sheep. Today we're not going to talk about boring politics. Today I'm going to take you to the field. I want you to understand who these Noar Akbaut really are, as they are known here in Israel. In Spanish, are the Hilltop youth or the youth of the Hilltops reborn biblical heroes, or are they anarchists pushing Israel toward a civil war? Because in recent weeks there have been serious incidents precisely around them. And at the same time, the government has just signed a check for $800 million to ensure that those same young people never leave that place. There is a brutal contradiction here, and we're going to break it down. But before we get to the money and the action, I need you to step into their world with me. Forget what you believe. Knowing about the famous settlers, what they're doing in Judea and Samaria is a totally new and reformed kind of thing.
Basically, to work the same opponent, and then it goes left, and we just go 200 to the left.
First, let's get our bearings. Judea and Samaria, the world calls it the West Bank. In the Bible, you will know it as the heart of Israel. There you find Hebron, Bethel, Shiloh, Jericho, and Bethlehem itself. Here, we're not in Tel Aviv with its skyscrapers and technology. Here, the land is harsh, the air is cold, and the law is only a suggestion. You know the settlements, big cities with shopping centers and buses, but the Hilltop youth despise that. For them, those middle-class settlers, as they call them, have become bourgeois. They are looking for something much purer, more genuine, more connected to their land. I want you to imagine this. It's 4 in the morning and it's extremely cold, the kind of cold that cuts through your skin. In the hills where the tribe of Benjamin once lived, a group of 5 or 6 teenagers get up inside a makeshift structure. Vulnerabilia recta for him, our lives. There is no central heating. Often the electricity comes from a very noisy diesel generator and some solar panels that may have been stolen or removed. Who knows from where? And they take advantage of the desert sun. So picture the scene. That's how they live. They sleep on mattresses on the floor, eat eggs from their own chickens, and cheese they make themselves. Their aesthetic is unmistakable. It's a message in itself. They wear huge woolen hats that cover almost their entire heads, often white or earth-toned. Long hair, very wild. The peyot are not those neat curls of the ultra-Orthodox Jews in the city. They're long and messy. The clothes are loose, worn out, flannel shirts, cargo pants covered in dust, and on their feet, almost always, biblical leather sandals or the famous work boots. Blonde stone both in winter and in summer. At first glance, you'd call them hippies, and if you saw them at a European music festival, you'd assume they're pacifists. But then you see the Teva rifle or the M4 or the M16 hanging from their back with the same ease as they carry their backpacks or their guitars. Why do they live like this? Is it masochism? Is it carelessness? It's not pure strategy. Here is the secret that changes the map. Sheep. If you wanted to build a legal settlement, you would need permits, architects, lawyers, and the state would give you 100 square meters. But if you are a shepherd, things change and the logic changes quite a bit. A sheep needs to eat, and to eat it needs to walk. A single young man like this with a flock of 200 sheep can effectively control 5,000 dunes, which is equivalent to about 500 hectares of land, simply by walking, because they walk all day, and wherever the sheep steps, the shepherd says this is Jewish land. When the Palestinians from nearby villages try to approach their olive groves, these young men come down with their dogs and their weapons, and that's when the clash happens. Clashes that we often see on social media, and without the proper context, obviously, you could think 1,000 different things. And the army, which has the obligation to protect its citizens, has to come and set up a perimeter. The result? Israeli territory expanded by 5 kilometers without laying a single brick. It's the conquest through herding during the pilgrimage festivals in Jerusalem, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. They are often seen daily going up to the Temple Mount, the holiest and most important place for all of Judaism throughout its history. The place where the first temple once stood, which is now occupied by the Dome of the Rock. Many are Levites who make their presence known each time they visit the Temple Mount. They walk around the entire area accompanied by the police, who guard them to prevent confrontations with the Arabs who are praying there. The first experience I had on the Temple Mount was actually with a group of them, and it's impossible not to be swept up by their singing as you walk through this magnificent place. It's forbidden for Jews to pray there, but there's a part of the route away from the Arab gaze where everyone can bow toward the place where the temple once stood and where one day it will stand again, just about 20 meters away. This is the closest you can get right now to this iconic and holy place, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And believe me, going to the Temple Mount in their company gives you the full experience. An experience filled with prayers, tears, and songs. But there is a dark side to this Spartan life. These boys do not recognize the authority of the secular state of Israel. For them, the parliament, the Knesset, is a foreign institution. If it does not follow the law of the Torah, they feel like the true heirs of the Maccabees, and their intimacy, their social life reflects that rebelliousness. Their weddings are not held in banquet halls, they are in the fields, often at night. There are videos circulating on their internal networks, which sometimes get leaked, where you can see an intensity that is frightening. Men dancing in frenzied circles, sweating, singing verses of biblical vengeance. Soresh Nina Hashem, give me the strength to take revenge on my enemies. It's a culture that has normalized violence as a tool for redemption. For many, they are the zealots of the 21st century. And this brings us to the news that is becoming more and more frequent because theory has turned into practice. Just a few days ago, we had an incident in the Ramallah area near Bethel. The Israeli army, the CFDI, tried to evacuate an illegal structure at the ocean outpost. The response was not. It was not a peaceful protest. 50 masked youths surrounded the soldiers, threw stones, burned tires, and attacked military vehicles. We're talking about Jews attacking the soldiers who protect them themselves. The Minister of Defense, Yisrael Katz, came out furious and said that this is terrorism. But here's the skeptic's pause, and I know many are thinking, well, Ari, but how can that be? If the government is right-wing, why are they fighting each other? It's the same question I ask myself many times, and the answer is that the government has two heads. While the army tries to maintain the law, the Minister of Finance, Bezalel Smotrich, is funding what many call anarchy. Look at this detail that came out in the budget recently. Here in Israel, Minister Smotrich has allocated 2.7 billion shekels, almost $850 million for infrastructure in settlements over the next 5 years. Do you know what the money's for? Well, it's to bring water, electricity, and roads to those same illegal outposts where the kids who attack soldiers live. In practice, Israel is legalizing what's illegal, turning those tents into permanent villages. And this has a technical name, it's called annexation. The United Nations doesn't need to declare it. Let's not lie to ourselves, they're doing it road by road, generator by generator. And while the government is putting up the money, violence on the ground is skyrocketing. December 2025 is becoming one of the most violent months anyone can recall here. Serious incidents occurred in Wara and Beit Furik. This very week, after the army dismantled a small illegal farm, groups of settlers came down to these Palestinian villages. They burned cars, set fire to a house that was under construction. Literally, it's an eye for an eye war. Palestinians throw stones or shoot on the roads. Settlers come down and burn property. But the difference now is organization. They're no longer lone wolves. They use WhatsApp groups to organize themselves, and they have lookouts with commercial drones. When the army arrives, they're already gone, or worse, as we saw in Bethel, they stay and fight against the army. Now I want you to look to the east, the border with Jordan, because none of this happens in a vacuum. Why is the Israeli army so nervous? Why can't they just control these young people? Because the army has a bigger nightmare? Iran, the Shin Bet. Israel's internal intelligence just confirmed that units 4,000 and 18,840 of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are flooding the West Bank with weapons. We're not talking homemade pistols. We're talking claymore mines capable of destroying armored vehicles. I talked to you about that in the previous video. Anti-tank missiles and sniper rifles are coming in through the Jordanian border, which is long and hard to monitor. So this changes the equation. If the Palestinians in Jenin and Tulkarem now have Iranian military-grade weapons, the settlers feel they need to be more armed and more aggressive to survive. It's a vicious circle. Iran raises the stakes, the settlers become more radicalized, and the army is caught in the middle trying to prevent a total explosion. Amid this chaos, the army makes a controversial decision you should know about. They created a unit called Sfar Amidbar, Desert Border. Who are they? Well, they recruited the same young men from the hills. The logic is as follows. They know the terrain, they're tough, they know how to track, so let's make them soldiers. But the experiment is getting out of their hands. There are constant reports that these soldiers who ideologically hate Arabs are using the uniform to abuse the local population. The line between a radical settler attacking a village and an official military operation is very blurry for the Palestinian living in the Jordan Valley. There's no difference now. In summary, we must understand the driving force behind this. Why does a young person from abroad or from here, from the big cities, leave their comfortable life to live without electricity on a hill in Samaria and Judea and fight against the army? It's not because of the price of housing, it's for something much greater, redemption. For them and for ministers like Ben-Gvir, we are in the birth pangs of the Messiah. Chaos, war, worldwide hatred, all are more than signs that the end is near. And this is where the red heifer factor comes in, which many people ask me about in the comments. The project is still ongoing despite technical issues with some animals earlier this year. Local reports confirm that the intention to carry out the purification ritual remains intact. This is very important because it would be the prelude to the reconstruction of the temple. For these young people, building the third temple is not a distant dream. It's an operational plan, a life plan. And to achieve it, they believe they must cleanse the land and assert total sovereignty. The reading without adjectives is this. Israel is at an existential crossroads. On one hand, a state trying to maintain democracy and Western alliances. On the other, a young, armed, and government-funded theocratic vanguard determined to force the coming of the Messiah. Even if that means setting fire to other people's media, like elasto. Causing a robbery, also tuetos. It's interesting to tell in told, and it's like people from Japan and in Germany organized. We will see it. For me, it's very important to know your opinions, so I read your comments. Believe me, I make an effort to try to read them all. Sometimes there are a lot, but I'm always very attentive to what you think. If you value this information, you can let me know simply by tapping the like button, tapping the thumbs up button, subscribe, and share this video. And on my part, we will continue to stay attentive to everything that happens here in Israel and in the region. See you